Number 2, discuss possibly approve the minutes of August 21st, 2023 special meeting. I entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, call for a vote.
Nance,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes. Mayor's report. You got your tax readings and everything in there too.
All right.
And on that little one.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Budget Committee. Hey, so our numbers came in. You know, the high is short-lived. We look at the numbers we got over the weekend. You'll see that we are down. We're down quite a bit from last month. So,
Are we really down or are we hitting about average?
well, we're about average. So, but we're down from last month.
Sure. Mhm.
If you look though, at the end of where we stand now from, for fiscal year 23-24, we're 270,820 over where we were this time last year. So, you know, that's a little bonus. We're not out of the woods by any means. You'll see over on the other side of the page there with the graph, we remain kind of stagnant, you know. We go back to kind of a flat level, but 862,000, I'm sorry, that is really small. I didn't mean to do that to you guys. 862,289 and 51 cents. Our use tax came in, it's about 9,850 less than last year at 77,660.
What were we building last year? I'm trying to remember. It wasn't the bank, was it?
No, I don't know. I think there are just a lot of projects. I think the heat, that was these numbers before we started the heat. I'm sure that kind of slowed things down. Back to school shopping was kind of, you know, wrapping up.
But if you look last year from September to October, it dropped quite a bit.
Well, sure it did. And you go back even further, you know, 21, 22, you'll see that September's numbers, what we call September's numbers on here, 66,000, 61,000, 46,000. So we're still trending in the right direction. We're just down a little bit from last year. And, you know, last month, whatever we had going on, we're down 19,000 from last month. So.
And even though we're thinking we're in September and we've got the numbers for
Right.
Oklahoma and Dam Jam and next coming up,
Born and raised.
Born and Raised, we won't have those numbers for 2 months probably.
Right. So, you know, typically we like to say there's about a 48 to 50 day delay between when the money is spent and when the money is visible to you
Right.
guys.
Those numbers are from the month of June.
Right. So we're a couple months back. All right. And then you get down, tobacco tax it's flat. I mean, we're 6,100 in all 3 recorded months under this year. So what does that mean? That means that we are going to continue to encourage our department heads to be mindful of what they spend, seek grants, seek other opportunities for spending. I want to be very clear, not just to you guys, but to the entire council and to the community, that our budget, our department heads are doing diligent work and putting forth a valiant effort to monitor what they spend. A lot of what we've purchased so far has been things that are required, things that are mandatory, licenses, permits, insurances. The extra stuff is, most of it's been grants or money we're dedicated for that. And so we need to make sure that we thank them for being mindful of the monies and being mindful of their budgets. You know, we're pushing through the hiring freeze. We do have some needs that'll come up, and not all of our needs are on here, but you know, when they came to me and they asked, you know, do you think we could post for this? I said, absolutely. I'd hate to get to the end of a hiring freeze and not have shown any need for help during that time. So they're being mindful. They're doing a good job. They're going to continue. We're going to start our, as we're coming up in these upcoming months, we're going to get to the point where we can start sitting down with the accountant, kind of assessing where we're going. As we start to get some of those numbers in, wrap up month-end numbers, we'll sit down and do some reevaluations.
Right.
Okay?
One Terry, I hate to say this, but I don't know that you can be in here while we're having this meeting. Right.
So you're removing me from the room?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I don't know that it's legal. That's what I was,
So, okay.
okay, all right, so, anything else?
No, not for that.
All right, appreciate it. Okay. Number 4, discuss possibly recommend council action regarding the hotel motel tax allocation distributions for the Pryor Area Chamber of Commerce at 40%, which is $39,070.14. Pryor Public Schools at 20% at $19,535.07. And the Pryor Main Street, which is 10%, for $9,767.53. Entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
Okay,
I think
so
you have a sheet on that too
if
here.
you don't mind, I'm gonna, while you're pulling up your sheets,
Mhm.
you'll see the Hotel Motel Board had to cancel their meeting. They didn't have enough people for that. But these are what we're gonna be going forward. So what we're doing is we're just bringing that to you for the optics of seeing what's there so we can present it to the council, having run it through you as they get ready to have their next meeting. And they've got some requests that they're gonna put through. But these are what is coming to them. So in lieu of them canceling their meeting, and we still wanna move forward, I just wanted to make sure that you guys saw that. We're aware of the allocations that'll be going forward.
Did you guys have discussion?
And those are set numbers. That's done by ordinance. Those are percentages of what they should be.
A question I have, and I don't know if this is right, wrong, or indifferent, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. We've got Pryor Public Schools at 20% for $19,635.07. They've got a lot of money, and what are they using that money for that we give to the
Well,
schools? I know that it's a different situation than it used to be.
Well, yeah, you know, who doesn't look at something and have a question on that? You know, the school is very well-to-do. We're very blessed to have,
We are.
to have the schools we have. We're very blessed to have the superintendent that we have and the school boards. So as we started in May with this administration, one of the things that I took to the school, the superintendent specifically, Dr. Mueller, was what is your outlook on that? You know, is that money the school still needs? Is that what it is? And they do budget that money into their athletic programs and things like that. So,
Okay.
you know, they very much are dependent on that. They're appreciative of it, and they have requested to continue to receive that.
Okay, so they do have a purpose for it. It's not just.
No, it's not just going into
A big pile of money.
Hey, let's buy
Okay.
an airplane. It is specifically, I think, majority of what you'll see when their seats come in are gonna be for hospitality suites, football games, things like that.
Okay, okay.
Side support is what I would call it.
Well, we get questions about that from time to time, and I thought it'd be a good time to kind of clarify that.
Nope, it's good.
Anybody else have any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if we don't have any further questions, call for a vote.
Trammell,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes?
Nance.
Yes.
Okay, number 5, discussion regarding the hiring freeze. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion. You gonna second? Nope. Oh, okay. I'll second it then. Okay, discussion. Okay. Do you have anything to go, or you want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Okay, after just going through our sales tax and everything, looking at, we're not in the clear yet at any stretch of the imagination. There's 2 departments, though, that I think that the way this looks, that they have their own money. They generate their own funds, and it doesn't come from the general budget. So the taxes wouldn't affect that part of it. And those 2 departments would be a golf course and the rec. Is that correct?
Well, we have 3, golf and rec in the street,
Mhm.
that are not in the general fund.
But do we pay our street employees off of the general fund, or we pay them straight from the
Straight from
street?
their own budget.
Okay, so that's the third one,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Those wouldn't make a difference in our general budget per se,
not an ounce of a difference would be made by
right?
that.
And there were some questions about needing some help out at the golf course due to his part-time people. Basically, they're going back to school now, correct?
So here's the deal. We had, and this is where this whole conversation comes up. We had our department head meeting, and again, I want to reiterate that there's not any complaining that takes place. There's not, it's 100% positive cooperation with the initiative of being careful and mindful. Yes, as Mr. Bowman, as school started back up, he lost some. He had some situations. He lost a few. He's down to critical numbers, to where it's, if you've been out to the golf course, it's taken a little bit of a toll on it. You know, several have volunteered to go help him. He's got to move the wood from the FEMA piles. That's taken people out of the street department to go down and help cut that wood, help get it broke down, load it on a truck, move to the pile, get it moved. And of course, all that's on a deadline. So all those things put a pinch on all the departments. If anything were to be said, I would applaud them for cooperating together, working together to make it through on a short staff. That said, their funds are not general fund funds. They have needs. They need to operate. Mr. Bowman has requested, at least for the next 60 to 70 days, 3 temps is what he needs to get into the fall. And then as we get into spring, he'll need 5 additional. That's what it takes. You know, we've got leaf control. Just because the grass isn't growing doesn't mean we're not aerating, doing those things. So for consideration, there's that. We also look at some of the departments in the general fund. You know, we went through, I have an assessment, it's in there, it was just kind of notes for me to see where all the departments were. But if you notice in the clerk's office, we have a shortage. We have a shortage beyond what was already in place when the budget was approved for a full staff. And so in turn, what you're seeing now, if you come in through the day, you'll see the city clerk doing multiple jobs, including municipal court documents and things, and tickets and citations, and they're all trying to get all these jobs done because they're shorthanded. My thought is at least consider some temps. You know,
But that's straight out of the general budget.
absolutely. But let me throw this argument out there. There's a critical number that you have to hit in order to operate. And if we're below that and we're not operating efficiently or effectively, it's a detriment and we're going backwards. We're not asking for a full staff. We're not asking for a full staff at the rec. He needs a couple, 2, maybe 3, 1 for fitness, 1 for aquatics, 1 to help out with the front desk. You know, some of the other departments that have, you know, I think, you know, the fire, correct me if I'm wrong, you said 3 volunteer would put you in a good place. That's not what we're coming to tonight. We're coming for those critical numbers, those critical places where we can't expect, you know, I'm gonna pick on Courtney, is that okay? Do I have your permission? I can't pick on Courtney without applauding the work that these ladies do. But we can't get the things done. We can't get our numbers put in, we can't get allocations, and we can't get those things done if she's doing tickets.
How, well, go ahead.
You know, several things here. First of all, we're what? Less than 2 months into this, and we're already talking about changing the hiring freeze. That's not acceptable to me on the surface. As far as the golf course, the recreation center, and the streets, it's not the fact that they can or can't do it. It's the optics of us sitting here with the hiring freeze on our first responders who are not allowed to hire, yet we're letting the golf course hire to make sure their weeds are low enough to play golf. That's stupid to me. As far as, you know, the hiring freeze itself, the purpose of a hiring freeze is to bring costs down pretty rapidly. And if we go back in and fill vacancies be it with permanent or temps, we're defeating the purpose of that hiring freeze. And that's to reduce costs through attrition, which is what we are doing. We're seeing that happening. And the fact that people are starting to scream that it's hurting tells us we're, for lack of better words, making progress. So, if we don't take this hiring freeze seriously, we're going to be looking in the next few months of not hiring, but sitting at this table saying, who are we going to lay off? We're at that point. And I will tell you, I'm very frustrated tonight because I called our city accountant and asked him, were we in a position to start talking about doing something with the hiring freeze? He said, I didn't even know the hiring freeze was on the agenda, and I haven't seen any numbers to make a decision one way or the other. So if our city accountant hasn't seen numbers, I have not seen numbers. I have asked repeatedly in these chairs to see the fund balance on a regular basis, every meeting. I don't see the fund balance here tonight. So I'm not ready to make any decision moving forward on this hiring freeze, period. We're not in a position as a city yet to do it. I mean, it's almost comical to me that we're sitting here with our numbers in front of us. We're down over 160,000 month over month, 1,027,000 down to 862 in sales tax revenues, yet we're talking about modifying or eliminating the hiring freeze. If we start opening the door and saying, well, okay, we're going to let you hire this time. We're going to let you hire next time. Well, you know what, golf course, good grief. They're getting complaints that the wood piles attracting critters. Let's just lift it and let's just go bankrupt and be done with it. I mean, this is crazy.
So, I hear you, and I appreciate what you're saying, I really do. I appreciate your frustration. Every day I get that frustration. I do. Nobody on the council's alone. Nobody's fighting a battle alone. And those numbers can be given to you whenever you're ready.
But here's one of the...
One moment.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the idea is that I will repeatedly bring to the point, when we brought this hiring freeze on, my recommendation was with provisions. I'm not here to punish my departments. I'm not here to say things in a manner that make one department look like they're not doing their job or that they're looking for a favor. I'm here to represent the day-to-day functions of the city. Not every department that has asked for help or assistance is getting it, but there are some departments where the need is critical. And it does us no good to let ourselves fall into a deficiency because we have positions that were budgeted by, you guys approved that budget. Every one of you guys here and the council, minus one, approved everything on that general fund. That budget was given with numbers that were secure for the year, including some of those that have left us since then, and knowing then that there was already a shortage in some of those, we're now even more short in some of those departments. Now, if any one of you wanted to come and spend a day up here running tickets or putting in numbers or answering phones and emails, you'll find real quick that there is a need. My request is a temp. Let's get some temps. The majority of their cost goes to the temp agency. The majority of what we pay them is a lot less than what we pay the city employees. And if they don't work out, we're not bound to them. But the idea is that gives them a little help so they can do their jobs, like Courtney can do the job that she's elected to do. That the girls in the office that are there, the ladies, I'm sorry, that are there to do, community development can focus on community development and not focus on a little bit of this and a little bit of that and jump over to help here. We're missing the boat. 90% of what you get in a municipal budget is payroll, and that's the nature of the beast. Mm-hmm. To save money, yeah, that's the goal. But I don't want my employees and my departments to be in a situation where those that budgeted that money are saying, we're not gonna spend that money that we gave you for that. Nobody is expecting a lift of the entire thing. Everybody says, but there are a few departments that I've mentioned that do need some help.
The reason, and straight up, I'm not a golfer, and if you remember when we tried to, I tried every way in the world to nix all of the equipment they got and
Sure.
everything else. That was just, I thought if you're gonna play golf, you need to pay for it yourself. And I made that point clear several times. But if we let the golf course go back down and we end up losing people that are gonna come and play, then we're gonna lose the income to the golf course, and we're gonna have to start pulling it out of the general fund again. Now, they're solvent, we don't have to worry about it. And what I'm wondering about is with the help that they have to keep the golf course up, the same thing for the rec. If you need 2 people at the rec, they have their own money to do that with. We're not pulling general fund. When we were figuring the budget, the general fund was the only fund that was actually, had a problem, correct?
It was the only one that had a problem.
Right.
We produced and you guys approved a solvent budget. We're not out of the water. I'm not by any means saying we're out of the water, nor have I ever. Nor have I ever said that we don't need to be careful. And I applaud, again, a third time, the work that's been going on by all city employees, including Mr. Bowman at the
Oh, yeah.
Golf Center.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to remember, whether you're for or against a department, or you've got a direction that, you know, oh, well, the golf course should make its own money, the golf course is still a city entity, and thus falls under my purview to make sure that it's thriving. When I came into office, the question was, what is your goal with, what do you want to do with the golf course? And I said, you keep the balls flying and you'll be just fine. Mr. Bowman has done that. Problem is that high school kids go back to school, college kids go back to work, kid has a little bit of an oops, has to be let go, you know, an accident, you know, and he was a temp. These were all temps. And so on a wing and a prayer, he's getting there, but he's also got cart paths that we have donations for to fix. We have monies that he's got to spend that came from donations. He can't even begin to use those, and those entities that gave those funds are saying, hey, we ever gonna see them spend it? Because if they don't spend it, we won't do it again. We have to look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is we still have to operate. We still have to function. If he needs 2 temps, that's $16 an hour. No, I'm sorry, that's I stand corrected. That would be about $26 an hour. $26 an hour. Typically, the temps are not doing 12-hour shifts. So, you know, for less than $100 a day, he can get the help that he needs to get that thing caught back up. You know, it isn't just about long weeds. It's not about here. They've got plenty to do. You know, several have offered to go and just volunteer mow so that he can get some other projects done. You know, I appreciate the people that are volunteering. But the thing is it doesn't give us a true aspect when it comes to next year's budget, what it costs to run the daggone department. You know what I'm saying? If we run on a wing and a prayer and we don't have a true expectation of what it costs to do it. When the budget comes next year, we're gonna say, yeah, but we did it on $10 instead of 20. So we only budget $10, and now we're gonna watch our golf course become a
Like it
cost.
was.
And we're picking on the golf course. That goes for any department. And so, you know, as I've talked to the department heads, every one of them here in this room, just last week, they all understand. They all understand. But there are a few that they need some help. And I'd hate to see a department go backwards because we're just trying to, you know, I get it. I respect it. And I understand your frustration, Charles. I have respect for you and your point of view. But, you know, at the end of this hiring freeze, I have requested the help. The need for that is there. And so I would much rather, at the end of the day, say, no, we came to you, we needed the help, than get to the end of a hiring freeze and everybody go, well, nobody ever asked for help, so apparently we're good. And so this is a true legit ask for help. We need some clerks. We need a couple temps. I think a lot of those vacancies that we have can be filled with temp employees.
How
May
many-
they- What's that?
How many temps did golf course lose, do you know, approximately?
I think altogether about 5.
At least 3 or 4, like, boom, boom, boom.
And then we had the one that was terminated. And so,
Between 4 and 5.
And that was recently.
Well, they went back to school.
Right. And here, what, did you lose some help here?
we've lost a clerk, and we were already down 1, so now we're down 2
And that was recently you lost?
last week.
Okay.
So, you know, and that's what I'm saying, is those positions were already in place when the hiring freeze started. We're not looking to bring on full-time employees. We just need to get them some help.
So,
We've entertained the discussion of maybe finding high school interns through the technology programs. Everything that we can do, but even that's gonna be a couple months before that can come to fruition.
so when the hiring freeze happened, did that mean even if you lose someone, don't fill that position? Is that what you were thinking? Okay,
That's kind of the intent of the hiring freeze.
gotcha. Okay. So,
So I do have a technical, what is the purpose? Are we just discussing tonight the hiring freeze in this committee? Is that all this is?
This is for discussion, there's no action on that item.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
Well, we're gonna have to have an action on it.
no.
The reason being because you've got some hiring going on down below it.
Well, that's my point. I don't think we can have action on it because the hiring freeze originated
Let's go to council.
in the city council, the full council. All council unanimously voted in favor of the hiring freeze. And it is my understanding that Robert's Rules of Orders require any amendment to that
To be by
motion
council.
has to be made by someone who voted in favor of it at that meeting. So we can't take any action on it tonight without violating Robert's rules.
Right.
so if you're
I believe.
referencing like 7, 8, 9, this is a situation that comes up for this committee. It's a little different to this committee than others. This is where, we've had this when I was chairman of the budget committee. I'm gonna ask you to put on 2 hats. You're not approving the hiring of these people. The item clearly says to recommend to council. So the hat is, we can either just shut it down here and deny the others the opportunity to discuss. But the second hat says, do you want to provide the opportunity should the other members feel differently about it?
Well, I think we
Well,
have to.
if we're just pushing paper, then why even have the budget committee? I mean, if we're just recommending council action, then we're wasting our time.
Well, that's how this works. That's how these committees work, Mr. Trembles. We send things to here, and you guys recommend it on to council.
And before we can do this on the council, we have to discuss the hiring freeze.
Now, you get down to those other numbers, you have every right as the budget committee to say, nope, we're not recommending it to council. And the buck is stopped there. I don't know that you'll find very many people that'll give you that little pointer and tip, but that's how it works, you know? Nobody's trying to ram
But
anything through.
discussing the hiring freeze doesn't mean it's lifted, that has to go to council.
It has to go to council.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I
But the
understand.
appropriate place, since it refers to the budget, is to come here to you 3 first.
Whenever we did the initial hiring freeze, wasn't it the agreement or the wording that we passed that we would review it at mid-year?
Mid-year.
And when is that?
That's what-
January?
That wasn't what was voted through, was it?
I think so.
I don't know if that was
We're
in the
gonna look
exact
at it
wording,
again
but that
for-
was in the discussion before we voted it.
And I could have misunderstood the intent of the hiring freeze. I was not aware, and I may have just missed it, it's possible, that if you lost someone that would, you couldn't fill that position. But I understand why you want to do that.
No, and again, I'm gonna go back to, refilling a position in a hiring freeze that's vacant negates the purpose of the hiring freeze, which is to get your costs down through attrition and not layoffs. So that's really the whole purpose of a hiring freeze.
Okay.
So the last point I'll do, and then I'll sit down and I'm gonna kind of hit what he just says here. We have one clerk that's in charge of community development. We have one clerk that is in charge of payables. We have one clerk that was in charge of court stuff. The court is paid out of the court budget. The community development clerk is paid out of that. They all report to Courtney. But the idea is that they all have one specific job, and there's one person in the city that does it. Attrition works when you don't want anybody doing that position. So we can say, yep, well, you got Courtney to go do those tickets, but let me tell you, Courtney's not in her office doing what she needs to do. Unless she's putting in a 70, 80-hour week. Now, her personal life is not the affair or the effect of this, nor is Mr. Bowman's personal life. But as a city, we're not here to put an undue burden on our employees. But if they can't do their job because they're the sole person for that job, attrition works when you have 2 clerks doing the same thing, 3 clerks doing it, when you have a room full of engineers. But to just say we're not going to hire back somebody who was doing that job alone, I think you're going to find that that's going to slow us down on some of those other things that you guys want.
So is the temp gonna be able to do that job if we have one person in the city
We
that
just
does
hired
that job?
in July, 2 temps that were doing a fabulous job, and they're now full-time employees.
Mhm.
So absolutely, temps can do it. That comes from, effective and efficient hiring and interviewing.
Well, if they are taking care of court records or anything, do they have to have any kind of,
Well, we're not gonna take a temp and put them on things that are confidential or proprietary. That's not
Okay.
gonna happen. But it does allow to shuffle some things around. A temp can fill envelopes. A temp can do some of those things that ease some of the other jobs. You go out to the rec center, or, the rec center. Mike's he needs a fitness guy. He needs a floor guy. Somebody, and by floor, I don't mean a janitor. He's got a great janitor. He needs somebody who can just work the floor, help keep things upkept and done. If he's not got that, then maybe Jackie's gonna have to come out of the aquatics area. Gosh, we don't wanna let the aquatics area go. We just spent a bunch of money there. We can't take somebody who is job specific, lose them, and not replace it, or at least consider it. So I'm just gonna ask you to consider. I'm bringing my battle. Know that just a few years ago, I was sitting in your spot. Now, we didn't have a hiring freeze, but I was on this budget committee, and I did have to make some decisions that,
they're
aren't the way
unfavorable
that I thought.
sometimes?
But the idea is that this committee wears 2 hats. And those 2 hats are, one is a council member and one is a budget committee. So,
Okay.
all right?
So, there's no vote needed on number 5 for discussion of regarding the hiring freeze. There's no vote on that one. So we'll go to number 6, discuss and possibly recommend council action regarding hiring Chris Jukowski as a volunteer fireman. I'll entertain
Motion.
motions.
Second.
Motion and second. Okay, discussion.
I just want to make you all aware, as also even council, I know there's a hiring freeze, but I don't know if everybody knows how our volunteers work. They show up, they get $16 a call when they show up, so if we got them for 6 hours, they're getting $16. That's what they cost us when they show up. We did the budget this year. If you notice, we went from 54 because we've been slowly dropping our volunteers due to either lack of people wanting to do it, or we've strengthened up our paid guys to where we're not paging out as much. So we dropped to that 35,000, and that's where we bumped up our fuel and oil and also some other things like our repair and maintenance. And our budget actually went down 38,000 or so. So our budget went down, we dropped that, but we still averaged, myself and James sat down, that's 15 firefighters, 12 calls a month, or 180 calls a month is what it works out with your 15 firefighters. And that's what got us to the total. I think I wrote down 34,560, but we went ahead and bumped it up to 35 for an even number, but then there was a 16 thrown in there, which was cool because we got 16 extra for what we asked for. But
So are your volunteers coming out for every call?
No.
Or just, how often do you use a volunteer?
So the last 6 months, I had James pull, and he sends the deals to Lisa, who helps us out a great deal on that. But so just going through here, August was 44, and that's the total for all the volunteers. So we got 12 on the books now. You might have one show up for 10, you might have one show up for one, you might have somebody not show up for any. So August we had 44, July we had 80, June we had 81, May we had 31, April 59, and March was 94. So I just took that high number, 94, times it by 12. That was 1,128 calls, or that was calls. So they might have been there an hour, they might have been there 15 minutes, or they might have been 6. But that worked out to, if we kept that average going for 12 months, that was 18,048. So we're still doing really good on our numbers. We don't want to make it to where it's too low to where if we have a big grass fire season or something like that. But as we go, James sends those numbers to Lisa, and he kind of tracks them, and he watches who's doing what and where they're at. Back in the day, there was a cap. We couldn't pay a volunteer more than $288 a month. So 18 calls, huh? What was it?
It's 301.20 now.
Okay, so they bumped it up a little bit, but they still capped the volunteers, and we just don't have volunteers that even hit that cap.
And do they get insurance or workers' comp or anything? They're literally volunteers that just, they do get workers' comp? But is that already built into the workers' comp package we approved for the year?
Yeah, and our insurance we got, I know it kind of looks weird when we'll get like a BFIS or ESIP, Emergency Service Insurance Program or whatever it is. That covers the guy's POV, so if they leave their house on a call and their personal vehicle's hit or parked on the side helping somebody, that covers it. So all of our stuff, our whole program's based to protect our volunteers just because they don't get paid for what they do. When it's like this and times are tight, we do a lot of in-house training. We've got 8 OSU instructors that'll actually do the gas, so we're not shipping them to Stillwater. We joke, we call it hand-me-downs or whatever. We'll kind of mix and match what protective gear. I mean, they're safe. We won't put anybody in bad stuff, but bang for your buck, my volunteer firemen are pretty good bang for your buck. And I don't know if everybody's aware of that, but like when we say hire and freeze, they're a little different. And like this young gentleman that wants to get on, he's eager. He wants to do it. I think he'd be a good fit. I know y'all have got a lot more stuff to look at, but cost-wise, the volunteer for what you get out of them, they're very helpful. And depending on what time of your day you are, we got shift workers and stuff like that. So like I said, just because we got 15 and we page out, we might only get 3 or 4. And that's really what we average per call and page out, or what we call all department page outs. But,
So we have about 15 right now, you said?
actually, we're sitting at 12. 15 is what we budgeted for. So we're running 12, so really that 94, you know, we kind of ran that on the high side of everything, and even the budget setting. So I meant the more months we go, the better off. But that's something we can control too, because the guys on duty get paged out, and then they decipher if they're going to do an all department page. So like this morning where the car wreck was, or the MVA was, the guys that did an all department page just due to location and what calls we've had there. If it's a car wreck that comes in there at Homeland, they'll probably run there, see what it is. If they think there'll be a while, they might do an all department page just to backfill the station. But the captains or lieutenants, whoever's in charge of the shift, they make that call, and it's also something we can set down. If we're running through volunteer money, we can say, hey, where are we paging out for this, or do we need to? But I think we can show with what we do page out. Like I said, we average, the last 6 months is averaging 64 a month, but even on that high side, if we maintain that 94 or so, or even bump up, we're still well short. I mean, 15,000 what we budgeted this year. But, and that's just something I know y'all, we're only one piece of the pie, so y'all get to look at the whole thing. So all I can do is throw my side out there and let you know.
How many did you say you had right now, 12?
12.
Yes, sir.
And those are kind of hard to get during the daytime, aren't they?
Yeah, and we'll always fight that. just different jobs, different occupations. We're very fortunate back in the day, there was a lot of people like your Randy Gibbs, your Kenny Youngs and all that had their plumbing jobs on the side. So yeah, they could break loose and say, hey, I'll be right back and finish up a job. But now you're kind of at who they work for and what their employer will allow.
Right.
But
Okay, so this is basically to recommend it to come before the council.
And I don't know how that affects you with your other thing, that y'all were talking about earlier, but there is a difference, I feel, in my volunteers as to, like, when you say hiring freeze, it's a little different than most.
They're not full-time employees or temps.
Mm-hmm.
They're
And
just
they don't
once
even
in a
like the
while.
Christmas bonus, when they do those out, these guys don't even fall under if we do, so they're 100% volunteer, and what little they get,
They work for it, don't they?
yes, sir, 100%.
Okay, so I guess we'll call for a vote to, basically we've discussed it, so, recommend to council action. Go ahead and call for a vote.
Shropshire,
Yes, we'll take it before the council.
Nance,
Yes.
Trammell.
Yes.
Okay, now might as well stand there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, discuss possibly recommend council action to allow the fire chief to move forward with the purchase plan of a new fire truck. I'll entertain motions.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion.
So, we went to, and I don't know if y'all have got that cover letter, but we're looking at purchasing another Pierce pumper from Conrad Fire through the HGAC. And that's what we've bought the last 3 trucks on. It's the Houston Galveston, and it's just a collective for this area, or this region. So it's been bid and everything like that. We came across this pumper that was being built. If you notice, it says an estimated build time 9 months. It's one very similar to the one we just got. A department had it in order and had it in queue, and then somewhat kind of backed out of it. So we've been bugging them. I call Roger or Brian or one of them at Conrad or Pierce on a regular basis, just kind of getting a filler for what's going on with the cost and what we see. So the cost of that pumper's the $797,000, which is about $20,000 more, but it's also getting built off the same spec, same engine, same transmission prices and stuff like that, so they're not guessing. So that's about $20,000 more than the one we got, which is, where it should be. The fire truck reserve account, Courtney printed that off. That should be in your all's package. Your packet there that shows that $500,000. The county fire account, there's also a deal in there that shows that we're setting in our capital account there at $104,000. We're gonna ask the commissioners to pull $102,000 out of that. We went to Conrad, they sent a guy down, took some pictures, and estimated our truck for a trade-in, which I brought y'all a new packet with that updated where it showed that 150 on the trade-in. Also, with the deal from, Brindley, who they shop around and see. Fire trucks aren't like a POD. They're very, they're kind of job related, so there's not a lot of folks looking for them. So, but we did take that, myself and James, we've been shopping, kind of getting a ballpark so we knew what was fair market value for that truck. We've went to different sites that auction those off and sell them and try to make sure that what we were doing was fair, just so we could, make sure we were getting what we were.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Whenever you're talking about the 104,000 in the county account,
Uh-huh.
you said you're gonna have to ask the commissioners for that to pull?
Yeah, it's just like you all, so it's
But
in our.
do you anticipate them saying,
No.
approving it?
It's just like if we have the money there, we can go to them and say, hey, and all they're doing is double checking to make sure we went through the
Okay.
right way, and they're, if we're gonna spend that much money, they're gonna be like, hey, did you go out for bids? Why don't we see bids? Or they're gonna ask us, which the county set up, just because that last truck we got, they're set up with now.
so you don't anticipate any issues?
No, as a matter of fact, I've already talked to 2 of the county commissioners, told them I was gonna wait and see how budget went. It goes through you all, and where we push it on to council, it's gonna be on Monday's agenda for the county commissioners.
Okay.
So when I come Tuesday, I'll be able to give you a hard yes on that. But it'll go county commissioners Monday morning, after that, it'll be Tuesday evening.
So how much are you gonna end up owing on this thing when you get through?
If we do it this way, with what we have in the fire truck reserve account, which that number's there, and y'all have got the copy of what the balance is in it, the county fire money, if we do 102,000 there and we get the 150 trade-in from, Conrad, we won't have to go for a lease. The reason I was talking at first about going out for a lease was the way the trucks were jumping, but in finding this one, that's not, getting built 30 months down the way. I have a friend at another department, and I had him send me an email, and I won't say his name, but he's shopping tower trucks, and he just got an email the other day, and it said from our salesman Roger to him, said, hey, I just received this, your price on your tower is getting ready to have an increase. So they've already went out and started bidding these. And it says, hey, Roger, just got out of the engine allocation meeting. We're at model 21 engines for what they were expecting to be able to build with. Well, they went through those. We have to switch to a model year 24 for the towers. The price increase of this engine will be anywhere from 18,000 to 25,000, question marks. With unpublished stock trucks, we're subject to vendor price increase, obsolete parts, and out of control prices. We'll try to get you better numbers at the end of this week. So, just like anything else, and we've seen it, I don't wanna sound like a car salesman up here trying to tell you, hey, you gotta buy it, cause you know, they're just going up, but we've seen it with the street department and everything else with the dump trucks. I mean, everybody's getting slapped with the upcharge fees there at the end, and everybody's
Sure.
guessing what prices are, but.
Would you basically have the money to buy this truck as we,
Yes, sir.
As we
Yeah,
speak.
if we do all this, and like I said, Courtney ran those numbers on our reserve, and when did you do that, just the other month, is that what I think that's?
It's been a while since I slept, so.
Yeah, August 31 of 23, so that was for
Okay.
the 2 months, and that was there. So that money's there, the fire account money's there, and the trade-in, I've got a deal on my computer. As soon as we get the okay, I just tell them, hey, we're good with that. We'll fill out the paperwork, but they'll lock that price in for that trade-in. And then we'll start doing that. And then I think on that one, I highlighted to where we've got, so if I okay it with them by September 29th, we okay it, the truck, they just have to pick it up by December 31 of 23. We don't have that truck in service as of right now. We stripped it down. So we're not even using it. So the sooner we get the okay and everything else like that, I'm gonna ship it out and quit paying insurance on it.
sounds good.
So,
Okay, further discussion? All right, call for a vote.
Nance,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes. All right,
Thank
it's
you.
going to the
Okay.
council. Okay. Discuss possibly recommend council action to fill deputy clerk position in the city clerk's office left vacant on 9/5/2023. Entertain motions.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All right, discussion.
Well, I obviously have a vacancy. Sorry for the voice. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I really need to get that filled though, because I am working as much as I possibly can, as well as having 2 kids at home. So I've pulled multiple, honestly, all-nighters trying to get the stuff done. If this position doesn't get filled anytime soon, just the repercussions of that, we could see a decrease in court payments because things aren't getting done properly there, so we would lose some revenue as well. But no matter what we do, whether, if you guys do approve sending this to council and council approves me hiring somebody, whether it's a temp or a full-time position, that position would be, we would spend less money because that person would come in at step 1 or at a temp pay. So no matter what, I wouldn't have any longevity pay coming out of that account like I previously was.
So are we recommending to council a temp position or a full-time position?
This is to fill deputy clerk position, so it's not specific here. My personal opinion, I would probably end up doing a temp position first. I like that option just to make sure that the person fits the puzzle piece in our office before we hire them full-time.
Okay, so basically, we're looking for a temp.
Yeah,
It needs to be, I want the wording
Yeah.
to say
yeah,
temp.
if you would like to amend the
And
motion.
I'll amend that motion to say, discuss possibly recommend council action to fill deputy clerk position by a temp in the city clerk's office left vacant on 9/5/2023.
I'll amend my motion.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made
I do have,
and amended to change that to a temp.
can I, can you give us some figures, and not just for your office, but, well, since we're picking on you tonight, yes, let's just use your office. What is the difference between a temp yearly, or 6 months, however you want to do it, just, I would do 6 months, versus a full-time employee? I'd like to see those numbers side by side.
I can get that for you. I've previously provided that to council. I'd have to go back and look at emails, but I have sent that out before. With benefits and everything included, obviously, a full-time person is a lot more expensive. But the temp is gonna be, if I had to give you an estimate, probably less than 60,000, I'd say.
How much?
Less than 60. I know.
60?
Yes.
A temp?
Yes, because there's the temp salary that they pay the employee, and then we pay the fee, of course, on top of that. But I'd have to get that information for you. And just to clarify something that Mayor said earlier, temps are allowed to do anything that we assign them to do. So this person would have access to sensitive information, but that's not something that, I would still be interviewing this person and bring the correct person on board that I feel is competent to handle that information. They're not gonna have just paper pushing jobs. They're gonna be actually doing the work that we need them to do.
Okay, and so we need to make sure that we bring that up. If this goes forward here, we need to be sure that we bring that up, and we need to know what the costs are gonna be when we bring it before council, if we do.
Okay.
That's another thing we need to do.
About how much would a full-time it be-ish?
A full-time person, with benefits and stuff included, I'm not sure, but I can get that. But their salary would be 30, I think it's 34.
36.4.
36.4, yeah. I almost got it backwards.
Okay.
Wait.
And to attest for Courtney on her hours that she's working, you know, I'm up here at night and
Yeah.
weekends. Courtney is also here at night, weekends, and that is before we even lost our last employee. So she's still fulfilling the position of the other deputy that we still have an opening for.
So did you say the employee is salaried at $36,400 a year?
It's
That
not,
is-
it's hourly, but it's
The base,
range, whatever, step one. For step one for my office, it's 36,400.
but you said the temps are 60,000 a year.
I was estimating with the cost for the temp agency that we spend less than 60,000 a year.
But the healthcare, the
We don't
benefits,
provide
we've already paid for those. They'll just become part of the package that we've already paid for, correct? So we're looking at 60,000 for a temp versus 36,000
The
for a full-time?
36,000
full-time.
is what the employee receives, so we still have benefits and stuff that we have to pay on the back end, so that's gonna be much more expensive for city employees.
Getting close to 60,000?
I'm not sure, just have to get you guys the numbers.
If you could get those, if this goes before for the.
Yeah, if it's approved here to go to council, I'll have it for you guys at council.
Okay.
And can you start getting us fund balance numbers?
As soon as I'm able to do my job, yes, I will.
Yeah.
But I'm currently doing another job as well. But I
So-
also emailed you guys all and let you know that the financial statement and stuff is pending Cassell issues, but I can't finish those Cassell issues until I have time.
So the temp thing is that way you can have them work for you for a little bit to see if you want to make them full-time.
Yes,
So if you hired someone as temp, we would like for that to be full-time at some point as long as it's a good fit.
correct.
Okay.
And then obviously that would come before council for approval.
Okay, that was my next question. Okay,
The hiring
That's how we
freeze
did
will
Jay
eventually be
and-
lifted.
Correct, yeah.
Eventually.
eventually.
Hopefully,
If we hire through a temp service until the hiring freeze is over, we're not gonna pay $18,000 in insurance. We're not gonna pay the 7.65% of the gross wages in FICA. We're not gonna pay 9% of gross wages in city retirement. We will not pay the workers' comp. There's multiple. It's easy a full-time employee will start out a whole package. It's easy to start at 40 on up to 60 total package.
Right.
Temp is gonna be at minimum 20,000 less than that.
okay.
You're kind of making my case here. Once we burden that regular employee and we're looking at the total cost of the temp. We're kind of getting close to each other, it sounds like. They're not,
The total cost of the temp is still going to be much cheaper than the total cost of the entire, for a city employee.
30, I've just got to see the numbers.
That's fine.
All right, anything else? All right, you guys have anything to discuss?
Nope.
All right, call for a vote.
Trammell,
No.
Shropshire,
I think we need to take it to the council and let the full council vote on it. I think that's where we need to go with. So I'm gonna say, take it to the council. Yes.
Nance.
Yes.
Okay. Now, number 9, discuss possible recommend council action to fill deputy clerk position by temp that was previously recommended to council on 7/11/2023. Call for a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. So this is just another employee that you're going to need. Now, whose positions are these filling?
The first one that you guys just voted on, that person would be doing court.
Okay,
This second position, when I brought it to you guys and council both last time, I put it to come out of the court budget as well. So this person would act as a backup. And when I say backup, I don't mean like fill in whenever they aren't here. I really mean assist them in the day-to-day operations because that desk is quite overwhelming. But they would do that, and then they would also help with filing and stuff like that in our office that we have been neglecting, to be honest, because we don't have enough employees to get everything done.
so we can be more or less a person that does several different jobs instead of one that's just attached to the court.
Correct.
Okay, discussion.
What was was this because someone left as well?
This position was, I believe, Eva originally.
Budgeted last
Yeah.
year, didn't get billed.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Eva never brought it to anybody to actually get it filled.
Okay. Further discussion? Now, this is basically to take it before the council, so the full council can put their thoughts into it also.
Correct.
Okay, call for a vote.
Shropshire,
Yes, go to the council.
Nance,
Yes.
Trammell.
No.
Okay. I know of no unforeseen business, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, so vote?
Nance,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes. All right, so we're out of this and move our chairs and